Yeah, hello everybody. Welcome to our weekly Power Circuit chat that me and Pallavi Ghosh do on the various developments in politics and in government. And this week we are discussing, Pallavi, I think the major events which were the BJP's national executive in Hyderabad. We're discussing that. We will discuss the new spring in the step in the Congress media wing with the team under Mr. Jairam Ramesh taking over, how they are more aggressive on the social media and taking on the BJP. And we'll also talk about a bit about other issues which are enveloping the president elections are coming up. The vice president choice also is up for speculation inside the NDA. But first, the BJP's national executive,
Yeah.
Pallavi, who was reading the political resolution of the BJP yesterday, looks like a very sharp kind of attack on the Congress. I think the statement I saw has a lot of focus on attacking the Congress, not just for the SC judgment, it also on the negative politics that the BJP is saying that the Congress is trying to play, pull down um, every move that Mr. Modi does. They said in national interest, whatever is done, Congress does not side with the country; it actually sides with what the political resolution mentions is the Tukde Tukde gang. Do you think such a attack is warranted on the Congress?
Well, what I can say, I don't think the Congress is surprised by
Hmm.
this kind of political resolution. But hasn't this always been the allegation against
Yeah.
the Congress party? I mean, siding with people who seem to be on the wrong side of the nationalism debate.
Hmm.
But just moving a little away from the political resolution, because I was reading a piece on it, I found the venue also very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And why it's interesting is because, again, people are asking this question, what chance does the BJP have
Yeah.
in Telangana, in
Yeah.
South for that matter?
South for that.
But remember, they said the same thing about them when they went to Bengal and
Yeah.
look at the number of Lok Sabha seats.
Yes.
People were thinking in terms, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not just about the state election, it's actually about Lok Sabha. The calculation in Lok Sabha 2024, we will go into territories where we've never been before. They said the same about us in Bengal, but look at the large number of Lok Sabha seats,
Yes.
because that should become a base ground for us
Yeah.
to make an intrusion into a state.
See,
So,
yeah.
reaching the southern frontier, would you
Absolutely.
say for the BJP is the big ticket for 2024?
Exactly. See, I think BJP, the way the party is working right now, at least in the last few years, if you see under Mr. Modi, it always believes, I think, Pallavi, in these audacious moves. Going into areas where the other parties are a bit complacent, they think they are unchallenged, like the TRS feels it in Telangana. So, Mr. Modi going there, the national executive being held in Hyderabad, the way the things were said from the stage, Mr. Modi even addressed the issue of Telangana, and BJP, in fact, tried to even say that it is because of us that the Telangana came into being. So that sentiment is also being played upon. I think that is very important. And when it comes to southern states, BJP is in power in Karnataka. BJP is trying to make inroads into Telangana, and all this ties up, as you correctly say, for 2024. BJP wants to be in power in the major states which matter, because obviously when BJP goes into an election in 2024, it's 10 years of power. So there will be some degree of maybe anti-incumbency. Congress remains the party with 20-22% votes. Of course, it can maybe grow from that. We don't know how it pans out in the next 2 years. How they project the which leader they project against Mr. Narendra Modi. But clearly, BJP doesn't leave anything to chance, and that is what I think they're trying to do by going into Telangana, by making all these noises. We even hear about Kerala, and mind you, the Bengal story is also not over. Many people say that BJP is weak. No,
But that's
BJP
the
is, yeah,
interesting part of the BJP. They lose, but they still go back.
yes,
And that again the same example we give us Smriti Irani.
yes,
The fact is that the audacity of hope is what you're talking about, and
yeah,
the fact that you go back, because I think that's also people also notice this that because they are consistent, they keep coming back to us.
yeah,
I mean, for example, Smriti Irani going to Wayanad is it's not a coincidence. It's
yeah.
a very well planned.
It's again an audacious move. That
Again,
is
a very very audacious move,
yeah,
because and it perhaps got a little bit of resonance on the ground. It at least unnerved the Congress party a bit,
yeah,
because they had made the mistake of ignoring her in
yeah,
Amethi, and we saw what had happened.
yeah,
And again, look at Telangana, because I remember that Telangana came into existence almost to the fag end of the UPA,
yeah.
and the BJP taking credit. But more interesting, look at Prime Minister in his rally in Hyderabad.
Hmm.
Like he talks about Bhavinagar, he
Yeah,
refers to.
Bhagyanagar.
But
Yeah,
tell me something, I really wanted to know, but Owaisi is someone who came out very strongly against the Udaipur, right? He's in Hyderabad. The Prime Minister is in Hyderabad. Why didn't he make a reference to it? Because many people were actually speculating that will he actually talk about that? Do you think there's a plan behind
Well,
it?
I
There
don't
was a
think
reason?
PM has lately not been referring to any leader by name.
No,
Even
no,
if you
I'm
say,
talking
yeah,
about the Udaipur incident.
the Udaipur incident, yeah.
Yeah.
See, it depends on what the PM really wants to say in such situations. And many speculated that he might speak on the Udaipur incident, but he did not. So also, I think the Udaipur incident, also the way the BJP has projected, the way the BJP has also, I think Pallavi, this model played out in UP with Akhilesh Yadav. That when the BJP went into the 2017 election, saying that Akhilesh Yadav stands for Muslim appeasement, and that image of Mia Mulayam, the way they projected it, I think a similar script is being played out by the BJP in Rajasthan to show that Ashok Gehlot government and the CM is appeasing Muslims and not caring for the majority Hindu community. That kind of politics, I think BJP is aggressively
And also
pushing
in
in
Maharashtra,
Rajasthan.
the Amravati incident happening at a time when they were not in control, but the Shiv Sena was very much in control.
Yes.
And I think the Congress is just walking into a trap. The whole Nipur Sharma narrative, and you were talking about the new sting or the spring in the steps of the Congress party. Don't even let's get started, because Congress has this cyclical pattern. They go back to it.
But that is a good thing, Pallavi. I think, personally, I think the way the team of Jairam Ramesh, Pawan Kheda, Supriya is trying to bring together, at least the mojo back into the Congress, make it more aggressive on the social media.
As a reporter who covers the Congress party, for us it's a good situation in the sense I find them more responsive. I mean, you do send a message to the team, they respond to it, they खंडन करते हैं खबर का, क्या बोलते हैं, plan करते हैं, वो सब. And Jairam Ramesh, even as a minister, was actually criticized by his own party colleagues often for leaking out the agenda of the cabinet.
He was too involved with the media, so he's the perfect candidate to handle media relations.
For that, and also he's somewhat senior. He has access to a lot of editors, so I think that might be the reason why he's been chosen.
And I think that's a good start, because.
That's a good start, but where the problem begins is that social media then should not be seen as the real battle. Like for 4 days in a row, they have been doing press conferences only on the Z anchor, and today they are tom-tomming the fact it's a victory for us that he's been arrested and taken to custody and so on and so forth. But who are they doing it for? Again, because it was Rahul Gandhi who was targeted. I was very surprised that this was someone who was telling me from within the Congress party that they could have used the fact that in Udaipur, in Kashmir, a person allegedly a BJP karyakarta or a part of the BJP so-called IT cell has also been nabbed. Why aren't they building up on that narrative? Today they've done a press conference on that. But will they build up on that narrative, or do they get hypo only when it involves the leader?
Well, I think, Pallavi, personally speaking, I think journalists' arrest should never be celebrated by anybody. In a way, in the Z case also, the anchor, they played out a wrong story. They also apologized now to a team to come from.
Placards set up and all that.
So a team coming from Chhattisgarh to arrest him in Ghaziabad looks a bit excessive, and especially when Rahul Gandhi speaks a lot about forgiveness, and I don't know if Rahul Gandhi totally backs this idea or not.
I believe that Rahul Gandhi is not aware of the fact that his party is doing press conference day in and day out. All the three people who are in charge of the different departments are very, very close to Rahul Gandhi. They have complete easy access to him.
So when a new team comes, Pallavi tries to prove their worth, tries to prove their point. So the biggest criticism of the Congress under Mr. Radip Surjewala, as PK used to say, Prashant Kishore said that first change the communication. Now they've changed it. I think
they are communicating.
They are communicating better.
They do press conference every day. They're very active on the social media. All that they're doing, and they managed to get an apology out of Z. So for them, it's a huge
it's a leg up on that.
But then it's also important not to go overboard and not to see this as a battle that they have won. Because I think at the end of the day, if you don't win elections and your strategy is not good, then you are always going to be open to this criticism. Is this the only battle?
Well, Gujarat and Himachal is coming up, so Congress needs to pull up.
Congress is doing a press conference about Z FIRs and all, and Maharashtra massive trust vote win kar gaya. Not only that, the absence of some of the Congress.
That is shocking.
That's real politics.
That is shocking. In fact, the absence of Congress. Is it there a split in the works? Pallavi, do you think?
I think there's a section of the Congress party who are never very happy with going along with Uddhav Thackeray. They will easily go. देखो सबको लाल बत्ती की चाह है. वो सब मंत्री बनना चाहते हैं. Nana Pature was always making this complaint. We are being shortchanged, even though they are the most junior most partners. So that is there. But we have to come back to presidential elections. Of course, there was this buzz about Captain Amrinder saying he's being possible NDA candidate. He's still recovering from a surgery in London and so on and so forth. But the meeting between Hemant Soren and
Draupadi Murmu,
again interesting. It's going to be very difficult for a Hemant Soren to say no to voting for her.
I won't be surprised if JMM votes for Draupadi Murmu.
And also there's whole speculation that up ki baari kya Jharkhand ki sarkar. Maybe that's his way of trying to reach out to the BJP.
See, I think Yashwant Sinha maybe has realized that he's committed, a big mistake, because even Mamata Banerjee is now saying that, his own spell party is saying that, if they had known it was Draupadi Murmu and a woman, maybe everybody could have.
If they had asked us earlier.
So,
my criticism over here, why didn't you think of someone who a better candidate. I mean,
Yeah, they
Yashwant
could have.
Sinha is not exactly a.
They could have. This now seems like a no contest now because the kind of credentials that Draupadi
Even if
Murmu
you
comes
want to
with.
make a political point, it comes across as a no contest.
Yeah.
Very often you do a political messaging.
Yeah.
And this was very much in the speculation. कि क्या एक महिला को बनाएंगे राष्ट्रपति? They should have actually thought of a mahila.
Exactly. Why didn't the opposition think of it?
Yeah, why didn't they think of it? That's where the problem rises.
And now I think with Captain Amrinder Singh, if he is chosen as a speculation, it will also be a very interesting choice, appealing also to the Sikh community, making a Sikh a vice president, and also the BJP considers him a nationalist. So that would be interesting. But I think his health remains a issue in this. Will he be ready for it? Though there is speculation. Though let us see what.
Close to him say that he is very much ready for it. अब करना क्या के बैठेंगे or whatever. I mean, I think that can be a more honourable, almost near end to the fag end of his career. I mean, he's given up active politics, merges his party with the BJP. What else do you need?
That's a glorious end at least to his politics.
That's a glorious end. And he's someone who's veteran, uski baat sunenge log, good speaker.
Yeah.
And there'll also be a split in the opposition ranks because there are many in the opposition who have very good equations with him.
And also a message to the Congress. That
deep message to the Congress.
Pranab Mukherjee was first a president, and then now, Mr.
But you don't value your own people, but we value them.
We value them.
So do give me your reactions. I think by the time we do our next part circuit, the president will almost be
ready, maybe. Yeah.
So, and another caption. Do keep on reading on News18.com. Do keep on watching TV also, CNN News 18. Let me
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for watching and give us your reactions. Thanks, Aman.
Thank you.